You can now hear the GCRN Radio Network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free-use and talk mobile app available for your smartphone. And when you download Stitcher to hear GCRN Radio, you'll have a chance to win money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. During registration, hit the promo code box and enter GCRN Radio, all one word, to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episodes of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too. Always available to you on demand, no syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code GCRN Radio when you register.
Cliff Jumper, commence countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now, ToyCast, with your hosts TFCon Mike and the goddamn Proto Man.
I love you. Shut up, bitch, I'm not done.
Decepticons forever!
This is ToyCast, and we have been reformatted into Transorganic Transformers. And I know Megatron hates his organic half.
Bite me, TFG1 Mike. Yes.
Filthy organics.
Rat
yes,
bastard.
this is a... Huh?
Oh, nothing.
That's right. That's what I thought you said.
Rat bastard.
This is a ToyCast, all things Transformers crossover episode. The only difference between the two is the intro and the outro. So whether you subscribe to ToyCast or whether you're subscribed to all things Transformers, you are going to get this. This is the TFCon 2012 pre-show. We have with us the goddamn Proto Man. Hello.
Hey, what's up, people? I'm back.
Yes, you are back. And TFCon 2012. This is the pre-show. This is where Proto Man's going to kind of give us a preview. Not really go into too much detail because obviously we want people to actually be surprised at some stuff that they see at the convention. But this year is slightly different, and the reason why Steve is on this episode is because Steve, finally, Mrs. Megatron, is actually allowing him to go. It was a birthday present. Steve will be there this Saturday, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
what the present it'll be.
Yes, it will.
Oh boy! All right, Proto Man, run us down. What's new for this year's TFCon?
Well, I want to stress one thing. I've been going to BotCon for many years, and I'm going to say this up front, straight up. This year's TFCon is actually going to be bigger than BotCon, and I don't mean that from a shallow kind of point of view. I mean figuratively and statistically speaking, we're going to be bigger than BotCon this year, in terms of guests, in terms of dealers, in terms of size of the convention. I think the only thing we might not have is more exclusives. That's about it. But everything else is going to be bigger than BotCon this year. BotCon really fumbled this year in Texas, and that's why we have such a huge turnout of people that are coming from the United States and under the border, because this year's BotCon was honestly a disaster. It really was. It was probably one of the worst BotCons I've ever been to. And this year's TFCon, we kind of went all out. It's our 10th anniversary, and there's a lot of stuff. Like, I think P.O. said it the best. You could do BotCon for years. You do one TFCon, you never go back to a BotCon. And that's the case with Ben. Is that
And on the flip side to that, Optibotanist said, TFCon, that's essentially the TFW meetup, right? And I was like, no.
No, you know what? In all honesty, guys from Sabertron, John 2.0, good friend of the convention, He's been there twice. Let me think of other. Well, good example. Anyone from Allspark, whether it be Iron Moose, Monzo, a lot of those dudes either have shown interest in coming, have come down themselves. Another good example, Mark, who's a guy on the Allspark. It's from different walks of life. It's totally that. Granted, yes, Cybertron.ca, which is the Canadian crew that runs TFCon,
Right.
was technically a sister site from TFW if you want to really go through that history. But we all come from different walks. Me, myself, who's part of the staff, while my ties are kind of linked to TFW, if you really take my fandom history all the way back, I was from the ATT guys way back on bulletin boards in 1995, and then Benson Yee's message board, and then that kind of evolved into the Allspark and what is TFW today. So to say that it's just one thing when we're a convention that has over 3,000 to 4,000 people, to say it's just a TFW meetup is kind of silly. I mean, it's everything. It really is.
Yeah, it is everything. And I think
to be honest, actually, now that I think about it, some of staff I don't even think have TFW forum membership. So,
and I think the big difference is that BotCon is known since FunPub has taken over, and even before them, but since FunPub has taken it over, they're known for their exclusive toys, their themes every year. And while TFCon does have themes, as you said, you guys don't have the money to put into a $300, $400 box. You know what I mean? You guys don't have that kind of stuff. And the thing about BotCon is that it depends on the theme if people are going to like it, really.
Well, it's also we do cut. What I do is, because I'm in charge of the fiction every year. Whatever molds we get, third party in this case, because we obviously have more than one exclusive.
Right.
But whatever molds we get, I try to piece it all together into one fictional umbrella, if you will. And while I don't want to spoil what the other two are, everything meshes together nicely. Let's put it that way. Right. And so we have themes too. Last year was kind of the same thing, where last year our theme, which was, because it was coincidentally, it was the year 2011 was last year, and Headmasters in the Transformers fiction happens in the year 2011, at least in the Japanese continuity. We did that theme for that year.
Right.
And the year before that, it was 2010, which is when Season 3 happened in Japan. So we did something that was kind of the bridge of the gap to Season 3 to Headmasters. We always try to have a theme of something. And this year, too, it's going to be the same thing. There's an emphasis on a theme of a continuity of Transformers. I mean, we've revealed Shafter, but that does not necessarily mean that it's something, because Micromasters aren't really tied to one timeline. Right. But there is a theme, and people are going to really enjoy it.
Let me, before Steve jumps in and talks about what he's excited about to go see at TFCon, let me backtrack with that statement. What I meant with the themes is that TFCon, not necessarily TFCon doesn't have themes. I meant that if you're going to go to BotCon, you're going to spend all that exuberant amounts of money, it's going to depend on the theme of the box set or whatever.
Oh, totally.
Whereas TFCon, you go for the experience, you go for the fan interaction, and BotCon is retail. That's the way I look at it.
We recognize that, and this is it's something that it goes without saying. In this hobby, toys are the most important factor. Whether yes, there's fiction, yes, there's comic books, cartoons, video games, but toys will always be the overlining factor of what is Transformers. And we recognize that for a lot of people, when it comes to BotCon, one of the biggest incentives of going is the exclusives. And a lot of people feel that if BotCon didn't have those exclusives at all, a good chunk of them probably wouldn't even make the effort to do those flights. A lot of people would probably think twice about it. But we recognize that. And we do realize that there is, for some people, an exclusive is that, camel, that piece of straw that breaks the camel's back to make it happen. Where it's like, I'm thinking about TFCon, and then we show exclusives, and then it's like, oh, now there's the incentive. Something that's limited to 500. A classics interpretation of a favorite character, if you will, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It gives that extra push that we need, because especially when you're talking people from the States that want to cross a border and go to something which to many would be considered a foreign country to them, it's a good push. You know what I mean? To have an Erector homage toy, if you will.
All right, so Steve, you are going this year. Now, what is your game plan?
The game plan is to show up bright and early on Saturday, um, because that's the only day we're going to be in town. Um, going to My wife's supposed to be going with a friend, so she's going to drop me off at the at the door so that I can get my ticket for the day. I'm going to uh, basically just try and meet up with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm very excited for the various uh, people to meet, like Scott McNeil, which would be awesome. And
Nice.
I'm looking forward to the script read. I'm looking forward to just the whole experience in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Because
one of the good things about the show too, especially since you'll be arriving and you won't really like, you're going to be literally dropped into that environment because we have the Friday before, which we call the icebreaker, which is it's like the deal room's not open, so people are more forced to converse amongst themselves and get to know each other before the big convention the following day. Where you're going to kind of fall into that environment. What's good about the show is that I find that because it's so closely knit, the deal room is so close to the Hasbro displays, that's so close to the panel rooms, where every BotCon it's very spread out. It's always a good walk to wherever you're going. So what's good about that is when you get to the convention, it's going to be very easy to find people and find everyone and find everything. And hopefully also, if the exclusives aren't sold out, for you to be able to take part in that too.
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
So, just from looking here on the website, you've got Bob Budiansky, Scott McNeil, and Neil Ross this year. Plus, the
We have more.
Hasbro Canada team, even though they're not going to be doing a panel this year.
They will not be doing a panel, but they will have a table there like they always do every year with all the new products that aren't out in stores yet, and they will be on site to answer all your questions in person. Last year was the same thing, and they were handing out free Creos, like to people. So it's not like we've severed any kind or damaged relationship. It's
Right.
partially to do with the fact that for anyone that was at BotCon that just passed, Hasbro themselves, Hasbro of America, didn't really have a lot to show anyone. And the sad thing is San Diego Comic-Con that just passed recently showed us that they were saving those slides for SDCC. They were.
Right.
The Grimlock slide, more than anything, the Grimlock slide had the BotCon logo in the bottom right corner, and we were like, I think a lot of stuff was withheld. So they don't really. This time, usually what it is every year is Hasbro Canada brings the BotCon product preview slide. That's what they've brought every year. But this year, because it was so lacking, if you will, and with the Hasbro now being kind of saying, well, we also, on top of the the panel being kind of lacking, to also do something on the same day that the third party product preview panel is going to be on. So they kind of were like, we don't want to do a panel this year, but they're still here. They're still supportive. They're still going to bring all their stuff. So there's no severed relations. There was a lot of murmurs going on different message boards going, oh my God, they're on a witch hunt. They don't want to do now TFCon. It's like, nope, nothing happened. They're still going to be there. We still have.
Well, they're still going to be there. They're just not going to do a panel. And sadly, I think not really to take anything away from TFCon, but since SDCC has just happened when we're recording this July 16th. Hasbro essentially has already blown their load for the year and for next year. So
oh yeah, of course, everything has already been put on the table.
Yeah.
And unlike a BotCon panel where you're not allowed to take photos, STCC photos were taken like crazy. Everyone knows what's coming. So unless you were one of those guys that weren't on the front page of any of the major Transformer websites, there's nothing we're really going to show you if we had a panel that wouldn't be a shock at this point.
Right.
But that's kind of where some of our other panels come. Like I could also mention, like we have Bob as a guest, Bob Bugansky. We have Scott McNeil. We have
Neil Ross.
We have Neil Ross. We have Hasbro Canada. But also we have artists. We have Josh Perez, who does the coloring for Transformers Robots in Disguise, the current series. We have Alex Milne, the guy who does the art for Transformers More Than Meets the Eye. We have Dan Kahana, who's the artist who did a lot of the BotCon stuff and all kinds of the different 3H art from back in the day. He does a lot of current stuff too. We have Matt Moylan, who currently works for Udon Comics, but Matt Moylan is best known as the Little Formers guy. And he
I
works.
wish you would do more of those.
Yeah, and he also helps with the Mega Man property and the Street Fighter property with Udon Comics. Who else do we have? We have also one big name for that's coming as a guest, voice related, but
Yay.
it's not announced yet. But
Well, we're 2 weeks away. Come on, give us an exclusive. Come on.
When is this going to be up?
This is going to be up on the 17th. So
that's a little too, because we're saving it for later. But
come on.
we'll see.
Oh, you bastard. All right.
But anyways, who else? I'm trying to think of what else we have guests. Because there's still more stuff to be announced. We have 2 other exclusives that are on their way, so that are going to be at show exclusives. Just a bunch of stuff. In terms of the panels, we have competitions because a lot of the third party companies have donated to us rare third party items to give away. And by rare, I mean stuff that's like 1 of 5 made, pretty much. Like BTS, which is the company that's known for their third party cassettes, they made a special cast of 1 of 5 made cassette sets in a special color just for TFCon to give out for the competitions.
Oh,
so
sweet.
Someone's going to be walking away with something pretty darn rare. We have a whole bunch of other stuff too that was donated by different companies. We were just confirmed today that a very famous third-party company is going to be also joining us at the show. I can't say who right now, but the press release will be out soon. A lot of stuff.
I know it won't be FP, seeing as how
a lot of stuff. Just it's so many things, so many competitions, panels. I know that Vangelis and Pia, they're actually going to be doing a panel this year together, talking about how to do pretty much fan media. That's their name. Their panel's name is the fan media panel, where they talk about video creation or animation. So they're going to do a whole panel on that. I'm doing a whole bunch of different educational panels from the different walks of Transformers. There's going to be autographs. There's going to be Q&A. Derek Wyatt's going to be there. I completely forgot to mention that. Derek Wyatt is going to be there too. But Derek, he always comes anyway, so we don't really announce him as a guest.
Yeah, he's not really a guest. He's a convention goer. He's a convention goer with staff access.
Yeah, he comes every single year, but because he's there, we go, "Hey, Derek, can you do a panel or something?" Since you're here. So Derek is going to be doing a special panel, I believe, on the Sunday. Yeah, it's the Sunday, where because the Sunday is the '80s Expo, which it's more broad. Derek's going to be talking about the creation of shows and animation. So he's going to talk about the beginning and end processes of how stuff goes about. And this is not just Transformers, but his work on Teen Titans and the Ripping Friends and all the stuff that he's done in the past. And he's going to bring footage and images showing the process of how characters are created until the final form. And that's going to be a really interesting panel that he has planned.
Now, for those of you who might not remember last year's TFCon post show that we did, Protoman essentially broke it down into the 3 days. I'm just going to simplify it here. Friday and Saturday is all Transformers stuff, and then Sunday you guys essentially open the floor to all 80s properties, right?
Yeah, and what's cool about that, and this is where I think as someone who's going to buy stuff, this is where you really benefit if you go all the day. With BotCon that just passed, not only was there a small amount of dealers, only 75 unique dealers, unfortunately, which is not that big. Usually when you go the Friday and walk around in that deal room that Friday, if you do your 4 or 5 passes around, you've more or less seen everything you're going to see for the Saturday and Sunday from the dealer room. There's not going to be many, pulled out from under the table surprises, so to speak.
Right.
Where with TFCon, we noticed that our show was so successful when it came to sales for the dealers that some dealers were even selling out.
Right.
So we decided to turn our Sunday into the 80s Expo and Action Figure Expo, which is Friday, Saturday, Transformers exclusively. Sunday, all the big stores and all the big guys, like one big store that's gonna be at our convention, TF Source, they also kind of dabble in other things that aren't Transformers too, because they also run small companies and stuff. All these other companies then bust out their non-Transformers related stuff. And for people that just don't deal in Transformers at all, this is their opportunity to now come and bring their non-Transformer stuff: Thundercats, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, Marvel, DC. The sky's the limit. And what's good about that is then the Friday, Saturday, you see Transformers, you buy Transformers, you walk into the Sunday morning into the dealer room, it's a whole different colorful affair. Now it's Lion-O and Peter Venkman, and it becomes a whole different animal and really refreshes the convention and makes your wallet even a little more emptier, if you will. And honestly, as sad as this is, I actually am always more excited for the Sunday than the Saturday. Is while I love Transformers and I'm a completist and stuff, the Sunday brings a term that one of my fellow staff members, Cheers Ian, uses. Because there's two kinds of dealers. You have pro dealers, which are the guys that come from stores and they bring their new stock, and then you have amateur dealers, which are the guys that hey, they bring their collections, or they bring they're smaller guys, and it's usually loose stuff, or they're bringing older figures to get rid of. And the good thing is on the Sunday you get a lot of those amateur dealers that bring just a butt ton of miscellanea, Mario figures, and just all kinds of crazy stuff from different walks of life. And it's just so awesome to go through that stuff. It really is. Everyone has some kind of crazy find on the Sunday that they're really proud of that they got cheap. And that really adds a lot of character to the show. Because in all honesty, hey, we're all Transformer fans, but we're also fans of something else. We all are. We all might love Transformers, but we love Nintendo. Or we love G.I. Joe. The point is that we're able to feed both those needs at a maximum level by doing that.
Exactly.
And what's good about
evil red bombers.
Oh, yeah, there you go, Proto Man from the Mega Man series. It's those kind of things where it really makes the show even more exciting. Where I found with BotCon every year, the sad thing is that after you've been to the deal room that first day, there's not going to be many surprises. Where this one, it's exciting to wake up that next morning because the lineup becomes just as crazy that time because of what is going to be in that room and all the crazy stuff. There was guys that had just tables of He-Man, tables of vintage Star Wars, and whatever your walk of fandom life is, we're going to try to meet that. And also, because it's the action figure, everything else changed. There's more guests that are more of a broad nature. Last year we had wrestling guests and stuff from 80s and 90s properties. We had now the cosplay and stuff. It becomes more 80s, so we have people in Ghostbuster outfits and Star Wars. So the whole show then takes a whole different turn, where you had 2 days of Transformers. The third day, they're still Transformers, but now you have that whole bunch of other childhood stuff also, which really is such a big selling point for the show, and a lot of people really like that. And that's what increases our dealer numbers, is that all of a sudden now we have a whole different walk of life of different dealers. And it's one of those things you have to see to believe. You have to really just be there, and it's the vibe that's incredible.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Steve, what's going to be your first plan of attack when you get in there on Saturday?
Being that I don't know what happens when.
I actually have the schedule here that hasn't been posted publicly yet.
Okay.
I don't mind debuting that on the show if you'd like.
That's
that would be
fine.
great.
Sure,
I can go through it very quickly.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, just run it down very quick.
Friday's registration. We're actually starting it an hour early this year because the show has gotten so huge. So it's going to be from 8 to 9. The thing is, different from BotCon is that we actually have a very good system of registration. So you're not going to be there till 2 in the morning waiting to get your Primus package. We actually have a very quick system where everyone it's bada bing, bada boom, you're in and out. That same Friday, we're going to have trivia competitions. We're going to have panels, again, like I said before, by Vangelis and Pia. I'm going to be running a competition that's a video game-related Transformers competition. We're giving away prizes on all those different fronts. There's also going to be, tutorial panels that's going to be run by two very well-known customizers in the Transformers community of the Radicon. And then we always have all kinds of events at the bar in the convention. Where, if anyone remembers last year with Gary Chalk did a live guitar presentation singing all kinds of songs from the 60s and the 70s at the bar with, I would do a rough estimate of 75 to 100 onlookers watching. So that was a really amazing experience. And that's something you're going to see all this weekend. I would not say that, we're going to have Scott McNeil hanging out there getting drunk. So who knows what's going to happen. Saturday, it's the same thing. Registration opens at 8. So for you, Steve, that would be like, just to make a note of that. Then the deal room opens at 9, except for, for like early admission, they get a little earlier. We're going to have a video game room. We're going to have a panel by me called The History of Cybertron, which is I'm going to go through the hidden history of Transformers' lore, as well as the creation process, thanks to Bob and also his help with that. There's going to be then a Q&A by Bob. There's going to be autographs by Bob and Derek Wyatt at 12 o'clock. There's going to be a charity auction where we have a lot of stuff donated from all the different third-party companies, whether it be extremely limited items or even common items. All of it goes to charity. You get those items. It's great stuff. There's going to be a Q&A with Scott McNeil. There's going to be Scott McNeil autograph and photos at 2 o'clock. Neil Ross has a Q&A. We have our third-party product preview panel, which is it's the equivalency of the Hasbro product preview panel, but third-party. That's hosted by me and GM Fan, where we preview all the new third-party items that haven't been publicly revealed on front pages yet. So all kinds of resins and prototypes, and we're actually going to have some of those items in person in glass cases too for you to check. So we also have a display glass case. Again, it's imagine the whole Hasbro kind of thing at BotCon, but it's now third-party stuff. So we have a lot of that. We have the costume contest for just Transformers for the Saturday. So we have the art contest, which is you have the 3D and 2D art contest, customization stuff. People win prizes with that, and absolutely glorious statues that we make for first, second, and third place.
Nice.
Which are, you should see these. They're mouth-dropping. They're Transformer statues.
Wow.
Gold, silver, and bronze for the winners of the competitions. And I'll try to post some, and you guys can post it in your forums or whatever. They're absolutely gorgeous. We did some animated themed ones last year, and they were gorgeous. We have a live script reading, which this year it's going to be Scott McNeil, it's going to be Neil Ross, and the mysterious third person will be there too. Nice. So the script reading is going to be pretty crazy, and everyone's going to.
What day is the script reading? Is Saturday?
We're still on Saturday.
Okay.
We're still on Saturday.
I'm going to that for sure because if it's what I think, and I'm not going to say it on air because it's just.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely nuts. I just guarantee that. Like, our script readings are always pretty awesome, but this is the first time we've had this many guests doing a script reading together with the fans. So that's always been a big thing where the script reading, with BotCon has always been just among the professionals. And once in a while, a single fan would get an opportunity. A good chunk of fans get a chance to then also partake in a live script reading. And so it's really awesome.
Which with that, I've always loved watching them on YouTube after the fact because it's just, it's so cool watching the whole thing transpire.
Oh yeah, it really is, and it's a nice thing that we do every year, and people really dig it.
Just make sure your video equipment is working properly. You don't get wires crossed, and you don't have staff members off camera.
They had that problem on BotCon.
Each other.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too that I'll just mention. Every single thing at TFCon you are allowed to record. There's no pictures, no video rule in any panel. Any panel, nice. Even the third party product preview panel. Everything is fair game. We're also going to have the Barricade and Beat Up Beaterbee, if you call, the 1x1 scale cars at the convention. We're thinking we're going to have them displayed outside the convention because we're going to need more space for more dealers this year, but they will be present at the show.
Nice.
So if you want to take a picture next to Barricade or the 70s Bumblebee, it will be present. And that's thanks to two very dedicated auto enthusiasts here in Toronto. We also have a fan group photo for all the different message boards. We're going to do big photos that we take in high-res images and stuff. We're going to have a screening of the 86 movie at 6:35 p.m., which is kind of a tradition we do every year, is to put the 86 movie just to – because I always feel everyone should watch the 86 movie at least once a year for the rest of your life. So
Yes.
it's
well,
kind
we
of –
could do that if the prices, if you already own the DVD, that's great. But if if you don't own the DVD at the current time, the prices on Amazon and eBay are outstanding.
I picked it up for $12
The
at
20th
Kmart.
anniversary Sony BMG DVD
I know.
on
And
Amazon is like
we play it on-
$110 used. What the hell?
we play it on a big screen projector like a movie theater. So
that'd
you
be
get
bad.
you get to really experience it with all the fans in a nice mini theater, and really just enjoy it. At 8:00 at night, because this show runs late, we have tons of fun. At 8:00 we have the Faction Feud, which is hosted by Vangelis, and I'm the judge for that. It's a huge trivia competition. It uses the format of Family Feud, but obviously it's a more Transformer spin on it. So to give an example, it'll be like, name, 6 famous forms of Soundwave. And there's a sign-up sheet on the Friday and Saturday for teams, because they're obviously teams of 4 like Family Feud. Obviously, a lot of people have already pre-planned their teams together, but we always keep forms for people who are stragglers that aren't part of a team or they don't have a team, and we assemble teams. Actually, last year, the team that won the whole competition and they actually won free tickets to see Dark of the Moon. The team that won last year was a team that was made up of stragglers, guys who didn't have a team to be part of together.
Oh, nice.
So to give you an idea, it's anyone's game, you get a group together and you could win some serious prizes. Again, you get also.
I still say, you guys, at least for this year, especially with what the theme is going to be, you also need to have, in addition to Autobot and Decepticon shots, you need to have Predacon and Maximal shots.
Oh, well, I'm gonna get to that, because that's actually the next thing. After the Faction Feud, which will probably end around, I'm gonna take a rough estimate, 10:00. We then have the huge TFCon after party on the Saturday, which the bar itself has actually reduced the prices, because we pretty much more or less sold out the entire hotel.
Right.
And so we made a deal with the hotel that the bar will lower its prices for TFCon to make really cheap eats there.
Sweet.
And the bartenders have made specifically Transformers related drinks. And what I'm getting at essentially is, you're going to have drinks. Don't take my word on the names yet, but to give you an example, you'll have the Ultra Magnus. That'll be a little bit red, a little bit blue, a little bit white, and it's going to taste like, I don't know, but I'm just saying, we have a lot of custom drinks that are based on Transformer characters of alcoholic beverages that will be there present. And we're going to actually post the whole menu really soon.
Oh, sweet.
Now that's the Saturday. Now the Sunday, like I said, it becomes the 80s Expo, and a whole bunch of new stuff open up. One thing that we had for the past 4 years is, just like BotCon, we have a customizing class where we have a limited edition figure that is available only to 50 people that could get into the class, created from Heads Up. In 2009, it was Classics Universe 2.0 Rev, which was based off of the car Robots in Disguise Spy Changer Rev, who was that yellow Lamborghini.
Right.
In 2011, we did the same thing, a Classics version, but of the character Flash, who was a UK Transformer character that turned into a red car from Generation 2. And last year, in 2012, we did a Classics version of Downshift, the mail order Omnibot. And everyone who goes to this class gets to create one just like BotCon. So that starts at 9 a.m. sharp, and it's hosted by our famous customizers, Nemesis Predaking and Dak, the former BotCon 3D contest champion, actually, in 2008. So it's hosted by two people who are really in the know of customizing.
Awesome.
Deal room, it opens up at 10. Again, the crazy deal room, same thing. The video room and gaming room opens up at 10. There's going to be a panel with Bob Buganski, how to create comic books and the process. What's interesting about that is that how comic books were created back then with him are vastly different than how they're created today. And because we have so many comic book guys on floor at this convention this year, it's going to be very interesting to hear his stories of creating Transformers and how it was back then with the old Marvel house of ideas in the 80s and the 70s than how, it is today. We have voice act. This panel is a very important panel for anyone that's getting into voice acting. This was a panel that we originally did 2 years ago and last year as a joke, because we always had this thing where someone would come up to the microphone and ask the age-old question, how do I get into voice acting? And we always, and everyone always asked that question to our voice actors, and we thought, you know what? Why don't we do 1 year where we're going to do a whole panel about how to get into voice acting, and we're going to get the voice actor to run that panel. And we did it with Gary Chalk and Paul Eiding, and it was without a doubt, it was a break. We were like, oh my God, something really clicked. It was the most amazing panel, and I'm not someone who wants to get into voice acting, but I was in that panel, and I was like, the stuff that he told, when you give those two an hour to explain how they got into voice acting, the trials and tribulations, the shitty jobs they had before to get to that point. Instead of it just being that one quick question from a Q&A and a line, how do I get into voice acting? And, they only have they're not going to spend the whole time just on that one small question from that one person. They have a whole hour, and they brought so much information that if you're someone who's very serious into getting into voice acting, this is not a panel to miss. Because last year's, honestly, there was so much stuff that even me, it just went over my head. It was how to get into it, where to go, where to start, what to do, what companies to contact. And it was just, them explaining their stories, how they got into it, the failures, the successes, where they started. David Kay, who was the very first one to do that, he was saying how, he was doing very small radio commercials. And then his first big break was there was a show called Ronin Warriors, which was an anime port, and they were like, we just need you to do 7 lines for the intro of the show, like the opening theme, and that's it. And that was his first big break. But from that, 27 episodes later, they're like, hey, remember that guy who did the intro? Maybe he could do one character. And then it all blew up from there. Yeah. Where from a small job, it became Beast Wars Megatron. It's just, these guys, this whole panel really gives hope to those young voice actors, and they're so educational. And the beauty of it this year was just like last year where we had Gary Chalk, who I don't want to say he's a new school voice actor, but he came from the 90s and 2000s. And then you had Paul Eiding, who not only comes from more, film school and stuff like that, but he was an 80s voice actor. So it's the same thing this year. We're going to have Scott McNeil, a more new school voice actor, and then we're going to have Neil Ross, who's more of the old school voice actor from the Hanna-Barbera 70s and the 80s. So it's going to be really interesting hearing their takes on it, how to get into it, their trials, their tribulations, and their stories. So that's a really important panel for a lot of people. At 2 o'clock also, we're going to have the costume contest for 80s costumes. Then, like I said before, development of TV series with Derek Wyatt. Really interesting panel that he's going to be bringing. And then at 4 o'clock, we're going to have the Q&A with the convention organizers. So, give us your feedback, what you thought of the show, what we could do to change, what you liked, what we should keep. And then at 5 o'clock, we're going to have the live recording of the WTF at TFW podcast. Evangelist is going to be doing a live recording in one of the panel rooms. So that'll be kind of fun. And then the big final celebration at 6 o'clock until whenever the, goodbye TFCon blowout at the Quest Bar again. Awesome. So just big, crazy show. It's just, there's so much. And like I said, anyone who has ever gone to it, it's like a drug. You're going to never want to not come back. It's nuts.
I find this very funny. I'm looking at my calendar on my computer. This coming Friday, a fire will rise as Nolan's Batman film verse ends with The Dark Knight Rises on the 20th. The following Friday is TFCon.
Yep.
You guys so plan that, right?
Well, you know what? We always plan the show around SDC.
BotCon.
SDCC, BotCon. You do we do these kind of things that we want to be, because we know people that go to TFCon, they're going to be going to BotCon or SDCC. So we want to always create that gap where their wallet could recover. You know? and like this year has been really good for that because BotCon was in April. So that gave a lot of people, even people who wanted to go for the very first time to TFCon, even if they went to BotCon, it gave them a good 3 months to recharge their battery of their wallet if they wanted to make the trip. And let me tell you something, slowly people are realizing how cheap it is to actually go to TFCon instead of BotCon, even as an American. To fly within the United States and land in Buffalo is a lot cheaper than flying to any of the BotCon locations in general. And then all you do is you take a taxi to the border, and then it's only like 45 minutes from there. When it's all said and done, and you're on the dealer room floor and the tickets and everything in the hotel, it's about $400 to $500 cheaper than a Primus package and the whole flight and everything to BotCon. It's always cheaper. And after that, all that matters is if you enjoy the experience. So, it's cheaper, but on top of that is we hope you have a good time. But Lord knows, everyone we've talked to has. So,
yeah. Steve, do you have anything else you want to bring up before we kind of close out the pre-show? Because obviously we need to save a bunch of stuff for the post-show.
Oh yeah. I do have a better picture of what I'll be doing. Few of the panels, probably the Cybertron one that you're doing. I know most definitely the voice actor Q&A and autographs. The script read is something I've been anticipating. And then just various, just checking out the whatever, random thing that I happen to walk up to.
There's gonna be a lot of artist guests again that we haven't announced yet, and other guests. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. Like, that's the thing. There's a lot more dealer tables than BotCon. So it's a lot more to go through. It's a lot more stuff.
And that's part of why I wanted to go, is because it's cheaper.
No, it's cheaper and you get more. I mean, just that kind of mathematic logic right there is,
Right.
I mean, I don't even have to stress it. It again, people like PA, they know. They know they've experienced both, and now they know why spend this when you could do that and you get more.
Right. And I know from our buddy and co-host Pecan Court Michael and Optibotimus, they both have gone to several BotCons. Optibotimus went in 2011, and Michael has gone several times throughout BotCon's history. I would say since 2009 to now, the last 3 years, BotCon has kind of, just from what I've seen from different videos and stuff like that, it has kind of turned into, friends and dealing. But the way I would approach a BotCon if I was going is, what events, what autograph, my first BotCon, I would do that. I would focus on that. And then if I went the next year, I would focus on, hanging out with people. Whereas TFCon, it's a constant... it's I hate to make this comparison, but it's one long night with a few comatose daylight hours in between.
Oh yeah, totally. There's no sleep at TFCon, unfortunately, because
for those of you who get that reference, kudos, because that's a total 80s reference.
But that's totally what it is, though. It's up until 5 a.m. talking about Animated with Derek Wyatt, and we're not talking privately. We're talking a whole bunch of people at the bar hanging out together.
Right. Yeah.
And we don't put any caps on the guests. The guests are free to hang out with everybody. They're not shuffled to a hotel room.
Yeah.
Again, like the Gary Chalk situation last year.
The guitar thing. Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome to see.
Like stuff like that. And that was until like 11, 12 at night. And the amazing thing with that was it wasn't just Gary Chalk. Gary Chalk's the one with the guitar singing for all the fans, but if you look carefully, there's Simon Furman and Paul Eiding with his wife also hanging out in the crowd, laughing, drinking. Sweet. It's an amazing experience, and we're going to have the same this year. I guarantee.
I don't know if this could happen. I know Steve would plot if it did, but I would imagine with Steve going and how good his Megatron is, I would love to see a video of him and Scott just going back and forth as Waspinator and Megatron.
I'd love to see it too.
I would definitely love to try that, but
yes. All right, so this has been the TFCon ToyCast All Things Transformers crossover pre-show. We will be recording and releasing the post-show, hopefully, depending on our schedules, the Monday after the convention, depending on, if Proto Man is actually caught
It's
up on
more,
sleep.
yeah, it's more doable, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. The Monday, the 30th of July, after the convention's over, where we're gonna go through everything that's Steve Megatron experienced, all the stuff that actually happened and everything else. So, any final words, Steve?
No, other than just looking forward to experiencing my first Transformers convention, and of course, getting to meet up with everybody up there. So if anybody hears me on here and is going, more than likely I'll be wearing something with either I don't know,
GCRN.com.
something with geekcastradio.com, probably a hat, but because I can't see wearing a hoodie. But anyways, yeah, I'll definitely be there floating around.
Awesome. So that has been ToyCast 93 and all things Transformers. What is it, episode 26, I think? We
Yes.
will catch you next time. Transform and roll out.
Rocking and rolling with Savage Ravage.
I got better things to do tonight than die.